I'm accompanied by Brandon Brown, local professional fighter from both Fight Lab and Carolina Fight Promotions. He trains out of Joe Hurst Jiu-Jitsu in Concord, North Carolina. Also a featured contributor to the leading local mixed martial arts online publication, MMA for Real, Rich Wyatt. And also the promoter and owner of one of Western North Carolina's best MMA organizations, one of my personal favorites, Elite Championship Cage Fighting, Marcelo Rodriguez. It's been said that North Carolina is the 6th most active for MMA action. And the North Carolina Boxing Authority has 73 scheduled events this year, up from 67 last year. What do you guys attribute the success in the state?
I'd say the biggest thing is just the getting it to TV, getting it out there. If the sport being worldwide now instead of being kind of an underground circuit, it's now getting mainstreamed. Is probably the biggest explosion to the number of fights we have in North Carolina.
You know, a lot of the big spread of MMA is also from using the internet. You know, a lot of viral videos out there. I don't know, what are your feelings on this, Rich?
The internet's a double-edged sword, in my opinion. I mean, it's a good way to distribute information to a vast audience quickly. The bad side of that is it's a good way to distribute bad information quickly. I think that it's helped to promote a lot of fighters here in the Carolinas, and one of the things you want to look for is to try to develop a talent base in the Carolinas is to have a robust amateur program, and that's what we do. We have a lot of amateur shows, give guys lots of good experiences, good experience, so that they're ready when it's time to turn pro.
I'll agree with this. I think the internet kind of brings out a negative lot because take the school incident that happened. High school coach letting his students fight inside the locker room, which kind of hurt the MMA name as far as kind of like a family event.
Right. There's a lot of misconceptions out there that currently exist about the sport of MMA, and certainly things like that don't help take away that bad stigma.
Now, there's a lot of keyboard warriors, as they would say out there, but a guy like Marcelo, with your promotion, it really helps get the word out about good fights, and it really attracts a lot of people to come out to your events.
Well, I tell you, I believe the success of MMA in North Carolina has come from the fans really getting to know the sport, and not just something you see on TV. They realize they have friends that are involved in the sport. Several people train. It's becoming more and more popular. So everybody wants to jump in and get that training. From there, you get your fighters that want to get in the ring or cage. Now you mentioned the internet. You've got MMA for Real, Carolina Cage Side that are bringing this and bringing all the news to everybody. So I believe it's just a growing sport, and it's just now becoming more and more known to this area.
Yeah, and there's no experience like going to a live cage fight ever. Seeing it on TV is one thing, getting there, feeling it, feeling the impact of the mats when somebody's getting slammed down, and, well, you get the idea.
I think people are seeing it now as a sport and not just a rumble or a fight or anything like that. It's a sport. It's what it is. These are talented guys.
Just as common as football or basketball or anything like that.
Exactly.
It looks violent, but these guys really know what they're doing.
Exactly.
I mean, I can't say the same about me, but it's a lot of fun.
Just like any other sport, these guys get there and they train hard, and they really have to work on all aspects of the game to bring a quality fight to your show, whether it's your show or another show within the state. I think a lot of people kind of get the misconception that these guys just walking off the street and don't have any kind of experience, don't train themselves, it's just a brawl.
Well, I believe a lot of people think that, it's easy to get in there in the cage and fight for those 15 minutes or, however many rounds you have. But really, the fighting part is the easy part. The training is what's hard. Not just anybody, can do that. Condition yourself and the sacrifices that these fighters have to make, not just with their family and to their bodies. It's hardcore training.
Diet and getting all that stuff right, getting your training regimen, your diet, and all that stuff in order. It's a lot of work, a lot more than just some guy deciding, hey, I want to fight, so I'm going to hop in the cage. It really doesn't work that way. It really is a sport, and it's really important people see it that way. Since we're lucky to have from Rich Wyatt from MMA for Real, let's take a look at a few of the rankings from their monthly poll of fighters in North and South Carolina.
Number one, we've got Jason Palacios, who's a pro fighter out of the Fayetteville area of North Carolina. Jason is in the armed services currently. He's fought all over the world. Jason's fought in Japan for the Pancrase organization. He's fought on television for IFL and has a lot of good experience, has fought a lot of really gifted opponents, coming off a championship victory over Chris Clodfelter, I believe last month. Jason's a solid pro, and he's at the top of our list right now in the Carolinas due to his experience and talent. Number two is a new entry to the 155 pro ranks. He was previously reflected in our 145-pound class, is John Owens. He's out of the Myrtle Beach area of South Carolina and is currently 8-2 as a pro. And then third, we've got Chris Clodfelter, who is a professional fighter out of the Winston-Salem area of North Carolina. I think his school's in Clemens, North Carolina. Chris owns and operates 8 Points Muay Thai gym there and has actually become known more as being a very sound and dedicated trainer to fighters in recent years.
If you don't mind, let's take Jason Palacios. I mean, what do you think his strongest attribute of why he's number one ranked?
I think the experience he brings to the table and also his submission skills. Jason has really improved his submission skills over the last few years. He works with Team Rock and has actually trained with some prominent teams in Texas before, the Lions Den down there and some other really talented pro fighters. Really developed a well-rounded game, I'd say, but definitely his strength is the submission game. And having fought some in Japan, he was able to perfect that a little bit, and he just brings a whole new dimension to the lightweight division in the Carolinas.
Very good. Let's take John Owens. John Owens. I know he fights out of South Carolina.
Right. John is pretty good, from my understanding. I've only seen him fight in person one time. He's a good stand-up fighter. Just wasn't able to make 145 anymore. Had a bout scheduled a couple months back and missed weight on that fight, and that fight was canceled. So decided to go up to 155. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles guys there.
Yeah, I fought John about a month ago, and he looked big for a 155. But he said he didn't have to cut much weight, so I couldn't imagine him being at 145 trying to cut down.
Yeah, he was a large featherweight for sure.
Yeah. And then Clodfelter, what's his strongest point?
Chris is just a really sound stand-up fighter, although some of his students will be quick to point out to you, I think he has just as many wins by submission as he does standing up. Certainly is well-schooled in Muay Thai and has been able to translate that into becoming an effective trainer, I think, and enjoys a good reputation there. A couple of other guys I felt like I wanted to mention that are up-and-coming guys in the pro lightweight division, because the amateur lightweight division has been just stacked with talent in the recent years. Jordan Rinaldi is a fighter out of the Charlotte area here, trains with Team Rock, accomplished wrestler and a very good fighter. He's 1-0 currently as a pro. Just fought a real experienced, seasoned guy in his first fight and was able to win a decision. I think Jordan's going to be one to watch out for, no question. Jacob Allman, former state champion wrestler in high school, wrestled at the Citadel in college, and Jacob trains with, I believe, Team Husky in Asheville, and Jacob's also one to watch out for in the coming years.
I think both Rinaldi and Jacob are really going to two contenders for upcoming belts in their future pro debuts.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the Amis.
Amateur ranks, we've got number one right now, we've got listed as David Colt Howell. Colt is from the Hickory, North Carolina area, and I think is currently a college student at Appalachian State University. Colt's 7-0 as an amateur and has fought a lot of really talented guys and has been able to maintain a perfect record thus far. Number two would be Amos Collins out of South Carolina, who's 6-1 and who is the Carolina Fight Promotions lightweight champion currently. And number three is Dewan Owens out of Durham, North Carolina. Dewan's improved tremendously in the past years, 9-5, and he's fought everybody.
I think it's really impressive for Colt Howell, 7-0. I mean, nowadays you're looking at amateurs and to have an unblemished record coming in with that many fights is really remarkable. Really says a lot about his training and his ethics.
Absolutely, he's a guy that I think if he dedicates himself to wanting to continue to improve, I mean, he's still a very young guy in his very early 20s, and he can definitely be somebody that becomes a winning fighter at the pro level for sure.
He's one of those guys that has that attitude that really fighting is just fun, and that's something he likes to do every once in a while. But when he does it, he's really good. Coming up next, we'll hear from Dewan Owens and how a tragedy in the cage a few months ago affected his life hundreds of miles away.
You know, I'm always going to look to knock somebody out. You know, if it goes to the ground, you know, I'm trying to pound them out. But you know, I'm not trying to sue anybody. I don't want to go into decisions. I'm going for the KO. So if somebody want to stand with me, you know, they're going to have a short night.
For the past 2 years, Dewan Owens has put up a most impressive record in his weight class, 9-5, and looking to move forward in his game.
Yeah, I'll be going pro. I'm looking to make my pro debut in October. I'm gonna drop down the weight class to 145. You know, I think that'll help with some of the laying praying and things like that. So that's what I plan on doing, going pro, making my debut at 145 around October at the latest. I fight at 155. I'm a decent size, but I just diet down. I don't cut weight in the sauna, but it seems like the skill level these days is getting much higher, and guys are getting much bigger. And, you know, I'm obviously still working my wrestling, you know, my takedown defense, but I just feel like I'll be a lot bigger and more explosive at 145, much harder to hold down.
But despite the record, in his one title fight opportunity, it lost this past March to Colt Howell, his notoriety has come from a fight he wasn't even in. Michael Kirkham passed away from a brain hemorrhage he sustained in a fight this past June. But what viewers in South Carolina and countless others on the internet saw was video of an old fight between Kirkham and Owens this past spring.
Yeah, I saw you on the news. I'm like, oh, wow, really? What happened? And but then I found out they were broadcasting my fight as the fight that he had sustained the injuries in. And, you know, they would maybe make a small disclaimer at the end that said, you know, this wasn't that fight, but, you know, in people's mind, when they see that, they just saw me. So my condolences to his family. But Michael Kirkham, when I took the fight, he was, I think he was 2-1 at the time, and I saw videos of him online. I know he had won by guillotine. He was recorded as being 6'9", but he was definitely about 6'5" at the most, maybe 6'4". You know, I saw he had 2 wins by standing guillotine, so I knew that's what he wanted to go for. And so sure enough, you know, after the fight, we exchanged a little on the feet, and he went for the standing guillotine, you know, and I defended it, took him down, and, you know, I got the finish. A lot of people were using his unfortunate and passing to push whatever agenda they wanted. If they were against MMA, they want to use his death to say MMA this, MMA that.
But in order to make it in this sport, Owens knows you have to have a strong support system.
My family comes to all my fights. You know, if everyone can't come, somebody's there. You know, my dad, my sister, and we're from Mississippi. You know, like deep down, we're really close knit. So they come to all my fights. They support me. They're the first ones to, you know, pick me up when I'm down. And if I'm feeling a little bit too good about myself, they're the first one to put me in my place. Oh, you remember that one fight?
So with that unfortunate footnote behind him, the training continues. The air has been cleared, and now it's time to get back to business.
At 145, I'll be much bigger. You know, I'll be much bigger, and you know, I'm always gonna look to knock somebody out. You know, if it goes to the ground, you know, I'm gonna try to pound them out. But you know, I'm not trying to sue anybody. I don't want to go into decisions. I'm going for the KO. So, if somebody want to stand with me, you know, they're gonna have a short night.
Marcelo, as a promoter, being a promoter that Dewan has fought for many times, do you feel that any of this at all, hatred towards him, is warranted?
You know, I don't think so. Dewan Owens is a great guy, great stand-up guy. He's got a great attitude with everybody, very humble. No doubt in my mind, you know, Dewan talked about, mentioned going down to 145. Dewan is a beast at 155.
That he is.
No doubt about it. 145, I think, is just going to make him even stronger. I don't think people have hatred towards him or anything. He's known or gotten his name across North Carolina as one of the top contenders at any weight class. He works very hard on his stand-up. He's very good at realizing what the mistakes he makes and going back to the gym and working on those mistakes. If he sees he's struggling with wrestling, that's what he's going to work on. Up and coming September 18th, he's got an all stand-up fight, Muay Thai fight. So he's definitely doing the right thing, and I think he's going to be one of the well, he's already one of the top contenders, but he's going to be at the top very soon.
I believe that as well. We've seen him evolve a lot with his ground game, and he's just constantly getting better every fight. It's just that this is just really bad what's happening to him and how he's getting played off to be a bad person just because he fought someone who did have an incident in a later fight. And it's not even he wasn't even the guy in the fight that everybody's broadcasting saying that that's the fight where the guy sustained the injuries or whatever. And it's just really, it's not right to treat people like that.
Well, I think a lot of the people that are doing this talking are people that don't even know Dwan Owens at all. Anybody that has met Dwan knows what kind of guy he is. He comes from a great school. Danny Daniels is a great trainer. And when people don't know the facts, you're always going to get that talk.
It does seem to be more of an internet thing happening
Exactly.
right now, keyboard warriors and things of the sort.
I think it says a lot about Dwan's personal character, though. I mean, not really taking these to heart because people don't know. You can stay back and start talking trash on the internet about these people, but really he's taking it and he's moving on with it, which says a whole lot about him.
Absolutely.
You guys feel that the death of Michael Kirkham has had like negative effects, like maybe like backtracking on the evolution of MMA in North Carolina?
I think it definitely puts things into light now that weren't there before. Really kind of focusing in on the precautions of it, the health side of it, and really getting the fighters checked out so that when they come back to fight, they're in sound mind, sound body. But as far as throwing it back, I don't think so. I think every sport kind of goes through a hit and miss phase, and this kind of brings it into light.
I'm really hoping so, because a lot of people had to do a lot of fighting to get this legalized here. A lot of guys have put out a lot of effort to bring it to where it is. Guys like Marcelo running great promotions and doing things the right way, and just making sure that he does match up people. You said it yourself. You try to match up people. Their talents are equal or skill level, size, or something like that, to at least make it a good fight for everybody to see.
There's tragic incidents in every sport. You look back in history, and this happened. Has happened in boxing and football and different other sports. MMA takes several precautions to assure the fighter's safety. A lot of fighters complain that the referee stopped the fight too early. Well, maybe not. But I personally would rather see the ref stop the fight early and you get up and see the next day and you get up to fight another fight. They go through several, have to do several exams, medicals, approved to be able to fight to begin with. Not just that, you go through a physical the day of the fight, just hours before your fight. One of the biggest things I've seen that's just not healthy for the fighters when you've got somebody cutting so much weight to make a fight. If you walk around at 205, don't try to cut down to 155. That's not healthy for the body at any sport, at any level. But that's one of the biggest things I've seen in MMA. Find your weight that you feel comfortable at. Don't push it. So, it's just like anything else. Safety is our number one priority with these guys. It's a sport, and we're going to protect them. Just like the Carolina Panthers has protected their quarterback. Same thing.
I think the boxing commission does a pretty good job as far as making sure that rules are set up to keep the fighter safe. Because if you're knocked out or choked out, there's a mandatory 60-day suspension put in place to make sure that the fighters are healed. I think that's a really good implement as far as keeping us safe.
Absolutely.
And they required the blood work and the eye exams and everything. North Carolina's pretty tight on safety here.
Yeah.
They do a really good job with that.
As far as like the personal health precautions of the fight, I mean, I would agree with you as far as the cutting weight being the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've heard of guys getting up, cutting 20 pounds of water weight the morning of, and then going to weigh in. And I mean, that's a lot of water to be taken out of your body.
It really is. It really is. I've got one of my fighters that actually walks around at 215, and he fights at 170. He's always made weight, but still it can't be healthy for the body.
Yeah.
One of the things I do to do my part to assure the fighter's safety, like Anthony mentioned, is match them up equally to skill. You've had a year's training, and I try to match you up with somebody that's got the same amount of training or equal amount of fights, and from there we go on. Once I see you fight one time, it may be the case where you're further advanced than the guys making a debut, and we'll move you up gradually. I wouldn't put anybody from the first fight straight to fighting the man with the belt. So as a promoter, you have to do your part to assure the fighter's safety.
I don't think a lot of promoters take that. A lot of promoters, I can understand that this is a business for a promoter and they want to make money, but I think a lot of promoters really want to get that paycheck in, so they bring out guys that are going to dominate the other guy for the show effect. But we really, as a fighter, we really appreciate organizations like yours that really take the time to match the fighters up well.
Well, my take on it is this. If you go to any factory here, who's doing the work? It's those hourly employees that are making that business successful. Mm-hmm. It's no different in an MMA promotion. Who is bringing the crowd in? It's the fighters that are fighting. People don't come to see me. I don't know if people know who I am, and it really doesn't bother me. I could care less, but I want to make sure people know, hey, I know who Colt Howe is. I know who Dwan Owens is, and that's who's making the company successful.
I think you being a fighter yourself is really
never forget
kept
that
in
focus.
perspective.
Never forget that focus. That it's all about your fighters. They're the ones doing all the work.
I wish everybody thought like that.
Yeah.
Be sure and check us out on YouTube and Facebook. Since this is our first show on the air, we thought we'd ask what it's like for someone to get in their first fight. Marcelo, why don't you start us off?
I'll tell you, my first fight, I could sum it up saying I was very nervous. You get that very sick feeling. You've got butterflies going, but ultimately you learn to cope and you learn to deal with it. You realize that you've been doing all this training for X amount of time. You've got people that been working with you. They want to see you succeed, so you want to put on a good show, and you're just very nervous till you get in there and they call your name out. You got punches coming at you, and you realize that you better get your game face on, or else you're going to get hurt. But it's a great feeling. You've got that adrenaline going, and you're out there trying to make a name for yourself, and you got to start somewhere.
Was there any difference between your kickboxing career and your MMA career? Difference in nerves or the way you felt about the fights at all?
It was, for me, I only had one MMA fight. All my fights were all Muay Thai, all stand-up. So to me, a fight is a fight. When I trained for a fight, I trained for the biggest, the baddest man out there. That way you're ready to cope with whatever they bring. But a fight's a fight to me.
It's a good attitude to have. How about you, Brandon?
Well, my first fights were out of Tennessee, and it was me and my buddy. We didn't have a school that we trained with. It was him trying to teach me, I'm trying to teach him. We got a flyer in the mail saying, come fight. So we're like, yeah, this is what we want to do. So we go up there, and I was really intimidated. Seeing the size of these guys, thinking, these guys are coming from X camps or whatever, and it's just me and him. So, you get the butterflies building up, you get the suspense building up into you, and do I really want to do this? Is this, oh man, I got to do this. I'm here, and then walking out to the cage, it's kind of like, well, I'm walking out. I have to do it now. There's no turning back.
Yeah.
But when you get in there and you get hit for the first time, you kind of realize, oh, well, this is a fight. Get back in reality, and just take it from there. But after your fight, the head will start swelling, especially if you get your first win. But it's definitely exciting.
How about from your amateur to your pro career there? Was there any difference in the nerves or pre-fight feelings?
No, I think before every fight, whether you're amateur or pro, you get the pre-fight butterflies, did I train enough, kind of question yourself. But it wasn't really no difference. I'd already been through 9 amateur fights, so I was pretty much in the game. I knew what was coming. I knew what my body was going to do, so I kind of go ahead and prepare for that.
It's definitely something fun though, right? It's always a good
yes.
feeling to get in there and
Yes.
get hit somebody.
And not go to jail.
The best part of it, right? Take a look at the calendar right now and check out some of these fights that are coming up. All good fighters in North Carolina, just because North Carolina, they're the best. The cage fights at the Seymour Johnson Air Force Base on September 17th. Rich, is there anybody that you'd like us to look out for?
Sure. I think this is a neat promotional opportunity to be able to give a show to the troops. This has been done before in Jacksonville for Camp Lejeune and the Marines there. It's been done at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, and it's a good way to spread the popularity of the sport and give something back to the troops. Headlining this show is actually going to be a undefeated featherweight member of the United States Army, Christian Brunetti, who's 4-0, and he's fighting against a capable opponent, Drew Ridgway, that's 2-1. So that should be an interesting show.
Pretty much guaranteed fireworks then.
Yep.
Anybody else on the card?
There's a kid from Charleston, South Carolina named Ryan Brunke who's 3-1, and Ryan's fighting a kid from upstate South Carolina named Mike Corvino that's also 3-1. It should be a really exciting fight. Ryan Brunke has some really good stand-up.
I understand there's 2 fight cards on the September 18th. Why don't you sway us to go into one or the other here, Rich?
Yeah, as usual, lots of opportunities for fight fans in the Carolinas, in Western North Carolina and the upstate of South Carolina to go and see live MMA. Saturday, September 18th, there's a show in Charlotte. And if you want more information about that, you can go to fightlabpros.com. But the main event for that show is going to be undefeated 4-0 light heavyweight Ricky Rainey. He's actually the #1 light heavyweight in the Carolinas by our site, MMAforreal.com, and he's fighting Brandon Beach, who's 3-1. And Brandon was an all-conference wrestler, Division I wrestler at Gardner-Webb University before he started training in MMA, and so that should be a very entertaining fight. Also September 18th, for fans in the upstate of South Carolina, there's a show in Greenville at the Bilo Center, and the main event of that card is going to be a pro fight by a 2-0 fighter named Stephen Thompson. Stephen was a 50-0 kickboxer who's transitioned over to MMA, and now he's 2-0, and he's going to have his first real test that night down in Greenville. And there will be an championship cage fighting show that night as well for folks in Lenoir and the surrounding area. Marcelo, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. September 18th, we will be in Lenoir, like you mentioned. We've got lots of interesting matchups. The one I'm pumped up about is really just seeing J.J. Brantley go in there and battle it out in all Muay Thai war. Dwan Owens as well will be having his stab at Muay Thai. We got Sebastian Wojak, Bradley Essick, Kevin Hewlin on board. So for more information, just log on to EliteCCF.com. You can purchase our DVDs at GoFightLive.tv, and always be sure to check out MMA for Real.